Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 28th DCW Conversation Hour, a monthly open conversation organized by the Deoband Community Wikimedia, a recognized affiliate of the Wikimedia Foundation. I am Ishita. I will be your host for tonight. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Jon Harald Søby, a longtime contributor to Wikimedia projects. Hello, Jon. Welcome. Jon is the founding member of Wikimedia Norge, where he works as a community outreach specialist. He has an academic background in linguistics with a BA from the Norwegian University of Science and Technology in general linguistics. This edition of DCW Conversation Hour focuses on language activism and the Wikimedia Incubator, where we will learn from our guest, Jon, about how Wikimedia Incubator contributes to language activism and how passion and dedication lead to creating new Wikimedia projects. Jon will speak for about 30 to 40 minutes, and we can have the Q&A session towards the end. Also, there's a disclaimer, this session is being recorded. Over to you, Jon. Welcome again.
Thank you very much. It's fun to be here, and thank you for having me. So yeah, like you said, my name is Jon, or Jon. When I speak in English, I usually say Jon. And please, if I speak too quickly or if I'm hard to understand, please let me know, so I will try to do better. So yeah, like you said, I'm a founding member of Wikimedia Norge, which is the Norwegian Wikimedia chapter. And I've been a Wikipedian since 2005. February 2005 is when I started. So that's more than 20 years now. And when I started, I was 16, and now I'm 36. So that's more than half my life that I've been a Wikipedian, which is, kind of strange to think about, but still, it's fun. I started in 2005, and in 2006 already, I became a member of the Wikimedia Language Committee when it was formed. Before the Language Committee existed, there wasn't really, formalized process for new languages to get Wikimedia projects. They would just basically just request, hey, can my language have a Wikipedia? And someone would say, yeah, sure. And then they would create the Wikipedia. So there was no process and there was no oversight. And if I remember correctly, the thing that directly led to the creation of the Language Committee was that somebody created a Wikipedia in something called Siberian Russian, which isn't actually a thing, and it was just filled with very very bad content and very lopsided, not neutral content, as far as I know. So it was kind of a disaster, and people were like, okay, well, we need to have a better process than this because this isn't working. So with that came the creation of the Language Committee and the Language Proposal Policy, the LPP, as it's called, which is the policy that says which languages can and can't get a Wikipedia or other Wikimedia projects, and also what requirements a language has to fill before a Wikipedia is created. So with this, there's the Wikimedia Incubator, which is kind of like a special Wikimedia project in a way, because it hosts what we call test wikis in many different languages. So if you want to have a Wikipedia in a new language and there's no well, if there's no Wikipedia in your language yet, the first step is to create a request for Wikipedia in MetaWiki. And then the second part is to start creating articles in a test wiki in your language. And we see in practice that a lot of people skip the first step and go straight to the second, which is fine, but ideally we would like to have a request for a new language in Meta as well. But it's okay if people start contributing to the incubator before there is a formal request. So what's kind of funny is that, well, the incubator was started in 2006, I think, but it was not actually started as a result of the language committee, which might sound a bit ironic. But before there was the Wikimedia Incubator, all of this content was actually in the, in test wikis, like new Wikipedias that don't exist yet. All of that content was actually made inside of MetaWiki. And a lot of people who were active in MetaWiki at the time thought that this, cluttered the recent changes, and it was hard to see what was actually the normal activity on MetaWiki, and what was just basically regular Wikipedia content, just in languages that people that didn't have editions yet. So the creation of the Wikimedia Incubator just happened almost on a whim, sometime in 2006. I don't remember the date. And it was just basically a place to put all of these test wikis so that they wouldn't clutter Meta. But then after we had after the formation of the language committee and the language proposal policy, we could quickly sort of took over the incubator in a way and made that the official place to, show activity within Wikipedia before we could approve it. So that's a little bit about the history of the language committee and the Wikimedia Incubator. I would like to talk about the what the actual requirements are for getting a new Wikipedia. I say a new Wikipedia, but I mean other projects. But normally, like most language communities are most interested in having a Wikipedia at the start, and then after a while, maybe they will think about creating a dictionary, Wikiquote, Wikibooks, perhaps. Something like that, but Wikipedia is, of course, the most interesting, the project that most people are interested in. The language proposal policy says that in order to get to Wikipedia, the language has to be sufficiently unique that it warrants its own Wikipedia. So if a language could coexist on an existing wiki, we would prefer that to happen instead of creating like division within that language community. And do note that this doesn't have, how do you say it, retroactive effect. So it only applies to wikis that are requested after the language proposal policy came into existence. So that's one point. Another point is that, and this is probably the most important one, that we would like to see an active community contributing to that Wikipedia before we approve. Because there was, like in the past and sometimes now as well, there was a problem that people would create a wiki and then become active, and suddenly they would lose their contributors, and then we were sitting there with a wiki that has basically no active contributors, and it's just how to say it, a place where spam is collected, like a dumping ground for spam almost. And we see that especially with many of the wikis that were created before the language proposal policy came into existence, when there was no requirement for a community to for a viable community. And we have seen it again with some of the some wikis that have followed the normal procedure after the Hello. Sorry, I dropped out for some reason. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so I was saying that yeah, we have seen some wikis that have also lost activity after creation, but you know, all in all, I think the purpose of the language proposal policy is that we want to have communities that are viable and will continue long term. And I think it's worked, you know, pretty well so far. But there's, of course, always room for improvement, and nothing's set in stone. So if you disagree with the policy for some reason, then you're free to, you know, start a discussion about it. Yeah, and in practice, the requirements now are that, well, when we look at the activity in the test wiki to see whether or not we will approve it, we will usually look at the number of contributors over time, and you know, there's no there are no hard figures about you know, we need a certain amount of articles or a certain amount of contributors. It's kind of fluent in a way. I'm not sure if fluent. I think I meant fluid, but still, that's not a good word. Sorry. My point is that we do, you know, look at it on a case-by-case basis. For example, in 2021, we approved the Wikipedia in Inari Sami, which has to be the smallest Wikipedia by number of speakers, if you exclude, you know, artificial and extinct languages, of course. Because Inari Sami has around 400 native speakers, and that's it. But still, they have like 5 or 6 active users, which means like more than 1% of the people who speak the language are Wikipedians, and I doubt there are any other languages that can match those figures. And nowadays they're thriving with more than, well, let me check. Is it more than 6,000 articles? Yeah, 6,191 articles. So that's, well, if my math is correct, that's approximately 25 articles per speaker of the language. And I know that my native Norwegian is very far from that figure. So they're, you know, they're a really inspiring community to look at and follow. So yeah, and we've also seen, you know, plenty of other languages. So in the last couple of years, there's been an acceleration, maybe since COVID, possibly. I'm just going to look up some figures here, because we did have a new record in the number of projects approved in 2023. In 2023, we approved 22 new projects from the incubator, and we call it like graduating from the incubator. So in 2023, there were 22, and in 2024, there were 26 projects graduating from the incubator, which is, you know, I'm really happy about that. And in the years before that, there were, you know, well, in going in reverse order, were 12, 18, 14, 10, 13, 10, 5, 3, 4. That's all the way back to 2014. So we've actually never graduated as many projects from the incubator as we did last year. And I'm hoping for this trend to continue this year as well. But those are not necessarily new Wikipedia editions, which are usually the first project in language, but they can be, dictionaries and wiki quotes and wiki voyages and stuff like that as well. So we didn't have 26 new languages, but 26 new projects. So it's an important distinction to keep in mind. So yeah. In addition to being part of the language committee, I'm also active in the incubator itself with creating, like, trying to make lives easier for the contributors. So I've made a gadget called the add prefix gadget, because the way, maybe I should share my screen to illustrate here. Let me see. Share screen. Right, and I will start a new tab, so not everything is in Norwegian. Okay, so this is what the main page of the Wikimedia Incubator looks like. It could use some improvement, in my opinion, but still, it is what it is. But on the main page here, you can see information on how to start a new test wiki. And it's all detailed in the manual here. The manual as well could probably use some updating, but it still works pretty well, I think. But it does require, well, I'm not sure if it's a requirement, but you should at least know some wiki text, like how to edit wiki text. And that's actually, personally, I think that's one of the problems that Wikimedia Incubator is struggling with at the moment, because when it was started and when when we started using it actively for approving new languages, mobiles and, well, at least smartphones and mobile editing wasn't really a thing. So things are much easier on the incubator. Like, this goes for all of Wikimedia, I think, but especially in the incubator, it's much easier if you contribute via a laptop rather than a phone. Unfortunately, because I know a lot of the new communities we have from especially African countries, but also Asian countries. There's a lot of activity from especially Malaysia, Indonesia, that region. And I know a lot of people there mainly use phones for contributing to Wikimedia projects, and that's unfortunately quite difficult in the incubator, as it is in other wiki projects. But still, I'm trying my best to improve that, but there are a lot of things that are beyond my control, obviously. Here you can there are instructions for how to start a wiki, how to submit the request on MetaWiki. So you can actually do that as part of the process for starting a new wiki in the incubator. And we use something called prefixes to separate these test wikis from one another. And we can just look at some examples of current test wikis, I think. So we have a wiki in a language called Ga, a language called Juju. I'm not sure how to pronounce that even. And Luba Lua. For language. So here there's a direct link to the English Wikipedia article on Ga, and I think this one is spoken in West Africa. Yes, it's spoken in southeastern Ghana around Accra. Yeah, and in addition to that link, there's obviously links to contents on the wiki itself, and also some statistics. And we in the language committee often use this link here, check wiki activity, which is where we can see, get an overview of the activity in that wiki during the past months, and we can see how many contributors have contributed each month and how many edits and stuff like that. So it's taking some time to load. Okay, but here we see the activity for the Ga Wikipedia, test Wikipedia. This is the list of editors, which is a pretty decent amount of editors. If we go all the way to the end, we can see the activity for each month. So here we see there was some sporadic activity from starting in 2008, actually. But then it really started to kick off in December of last year with some activity from Nanaya, Batar, Yatuba, Da Supremo, and so on. And we see this continuing for the next few months until March here. So let's hope they continue their good activity so we can improve them soon, because this is looking very good. Yeah, and then we can stick to the Ga Wikipedia, I think. So we can see an overview of the pages in the test wiki, and this uses the prefix, and we can actually just check out some random pages, I think. So this is a page in the Ga Wikipedia. It's pretty, it's what we would probably call a stub in other Wikipedias, but for a new Wikipedia, this is actually a pretty decent article, I think. As you can see here, the page title starts with WP/GAA/ and then the actual title. And that's because we use these prefixes to separate all the test wikis from each other. And the gadget I was talking about, that's called add prefix. The thing it does is that when you edit an article and you add the link, so let's pretend we will add a link to this one, national. I just have to wait for the page to load completely. Okay, here, National Democratic Congress. So normally when you add the link in Wikitext, you will just add these brackets, and that's what I'm doing now as well. And we can click show preview. And here we see a red link because, well, the article doesn't exist yet. But when we hover the link, we actually see a link to WP/GAA/National Democratic Congress. And that's because the gadget I made automatically adds the prefixes to all links and categories and templates and everything when you edit. If we didn't have this gadget, and this gadget, I think I enabled this maybe 3 years ago, 2021 or 22, I think. So before we had this gadget, everyone who edits a Wikipedia anyone who edits any wiki in the incubator would have to input all of these prefixes manually for every single link they make and every single template and category. So that's what I mean when I say I'm trying to make people's lives a bit easier. But yeah, and there are other people, of course, contributing to the maintenance and upkeep of the Wikimedia Incubator as well, especially a user called MF Warburg, who is a fellow member of the language committee. He's been active in the incubator for many, many years and taken on, all kinds of maintenance work there. So that's really amazing. Yeah, let's see. And there are also a lot of other, features that are customized for the Wikimedia Incubator. For example, we have a special user group called Test Wiki Admin, which means you're an administrator, but only within your own test wiki, if that makes sense. So you can be an admin for the Ga Wikipedia, but not for other Wikipedias inside of the incubator. And we have a feature to get recent changes only for your test wiki, which it can also be useful. So here we see there's a bit of activity in the Ga Wikipedia in the past few days. That's good. But we can also see, all the recent changes for all wikis if we want to do that. So now there's a lot of activity in this. Well, from especially one user here in NIJ. Oh, yeah, I think I forgot to say that. But these prefixes that are used for each test wiki consist of WP for Wikipedia, and there are other letters. For example, WT for Wiktionary, and then /GAA, and GAA is the ISO 6393 code for the language. So that's another one of the requirements in the language proposal policy, is that 39 code in order to get approved. And in that way, we sort of outsource the decision about what should be a language and what should not be considered a language to an external authority, which is the ISO, International Standards Organization, which, helps us not to have to deal with a lot of contentious linguistic / political issues, in theory, at least. Yeah, so NIJ, I'm not sure what language that is actually. Let's check. Ngaju. Probably in West Africa somewhere, if I guess. Oh, no. It's spoken in Indonesia, actually. In Kalimantan, Indonesia. Interesting. So that has a lot of activity right now, at least. So hopefully we will be able to approve this and check any of the activity. So I don't know for sure. Yeah. And there's another feature that I've made in the Wikimedia Incubator, which I would like to brag about, if that's allowed. Because pages in the Wikimedia Incubator are not connected to Wikidata in the normal way, because, by design, a Wikidata item can only have one link per wiki. And of course, in the Wikimedia Incubator, there are several wikis. So say you have an article on Norway, then there will be plenty of languages that have articles on Norway inside the Wikimedia Incubator because they belong to different test wikis. So a consequence of that is that we didn't have interwiki links inside the incubator the old-fashioned way. And nowadays, I think there are few that even remember. But oh yeah, I can't show this with this user account. Let's see here. Let me also switch my interface language to English. Okay, so normally in the very old days before Wikidata existed, you would add interwiki links by specifying them in the wiki text like this. So if we pretend that this article is about Norway, you would add interwiki links, with basically language code, colon, and then the name of the article in that language. And that's, not really a great way of doing it, but technically you can still do this. And as far as I know, that's actually how Wikidata interwiki links are still added to Wikipedia's under the hood. But yeah, this is kind of a primitive way of doing it. So I created something called the interwiki gadget, along with a user called Nikki. And the way it works is that if a page doesn't have any interwiki links, the gadget sort of takes over this add languages button at the top. So when you click that, you get the option to enter either, well, you can add a QID, but you can also just paste the URL to an article or type in the entire URL to an article. So if we pretend that this article is about Norway, we can paste the link to the English Wikipedia article on Norway or any other language, of course, and hit publish. And then the gadget will actually, it will add a template called interwiki in capital letters. And now we see that, oh, this actually has 305 interwiki links. And these are all fetched from Wikidata, obviously. So when you click edit source again, you will see that, oh, there's a template at the top, which has interwiki and then the Wikidata ID. And then we have the interwiki links. And this also works on the mobile edition, which if you edit any other Wikipedia normally, there is really no way of adding an interwiki link except visiting Wikidata, switching to the desktop interface on mobile, then adding the interwiki link, and it's a mess. But in the incubator, at least, you can do it natively on your phone. So I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah. All right. Yes. I think that's enough talking for now. I see there's a question in the chat from Umar. It says, I'm from the Central Canada Wikipedia. We recently graduated from the incubator and we gained a lot of experience during our time in the incubator. It enhances our editing skills and other wiki activities when we gain our own domain. And we find it very easy and no complications. That's very good to hear, Umar, because that's kind of the aim of the incubator at the moment, is for people to learn how wiki editing actually works. And that's, that wasn't the original intent of the incubator. Like I said, when I talked about the history at the start, the intent was really just to get rid of all those test wikis from Meta, and that was that. And in the start, like in the first years, most people who would try to create a Wikipedia in a new languages were Europeans, and at least as far as I know, most of the people who tried starting new Wikipedias were already experienced Wikipedia editors in their majority languages or whatever. But nowadays, I think this is, I don't have any data to back this up, but in my anecdotal experience, at least, a lot of the people who start contributing in the incubator don't really have a lot of wiki experience from before. So the incubator is their first, wiki editing experience. So we should really try to make it so that it's good at not only being a place to keep these Wikipedias until they're graduated, but also a good place for people to get introduced to wiki editing in general. And we probably have a long way to go before we're there, but at least that's what we should keep in mind when we try to improve the incubator. So yeah, I've talked for a long time. Are there any questions or any comments or anything?
Jon, thank you for such an insightful, and it was a learning experience, really. There's this comment by Christopher Liberty. We are interested in developing Riancore, pardon my pronunciation, ISO 639-3 code is NYN. So I think it's just a comment from Christopher.
Yeah. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but I'm also part of the Wikimedia Language Diversity Hub, which is a up and coming hub in the Wikimedia universe. And the hub recently had a conversation hour kind of thing, almost like this, but perhaps a little more focused on this specific language, Ronjancore. And I'm sure Christopher maybe participated or at least knows about it. But they're my fellow language committee member, Amir, helped with how to figure this stuff out. So hopefully they will have some answers already. But still, feel free to reach out and ask questions anytime if you need any help with getting started.
Jon, I also have a question.
Sure.
Thank you so much for the presentation. My question is, what happens when people stop contributing to the test language wiki?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's unfortunately something that we've seen happen several times. Is that well, actually, we could see perhaps the start of that with the activity in the Ga Wikipedia that I showed earlier, where there was quite a lot of activity from December until February, but then in March there was almost no activity, and in April there was almost no activity. And that's kind of sad, because then, you know, they've gotten started and they've gotten people interested, but then people lost interest almost at the finish line, you know, because after 1 or 2 more months of activity, we would probably be, okay, this looks good. We should start thinking about improving this language. But then they lose activity, so we sort of reset the clock, if you know what I mean. But on the plus side, all of the content that they have been creating, it doesn't get lost. It's still there. So even if it takes 10 years for, you know, other people to come back and get interested, the content will still be there, so that they can continue building upon it. So yeah, but we really want to have, you know, consistent activity before we approve a Wikipedia. So that's the most important requirement, like I said.
Okay, there's a question from Christopher, and I think it's related to the previous question. How long should be consistent enough?
Yes. Normally we look at like at least 4 months, I would say. That's sort of like the minimum, but probably between between 4 and 6 months of consistent activity, I think. But there is one, how do you say it? One bottleneck in the process is that we don't have any tools to sort of monitor activity across all languages. So we in the language committee, we might miss that there is a language that is getting ready for approval. So if you think that your wiki is getting ready to be approved, but you don't see or hear anything from the language committee, feel free to just reach out to us and ask us, hey, can you take a look at the test wiki I'm participating in, because I think we're getting ready soon. And then we will probably say yes or no. And if we say no, we will usually, you know, have some additional feedback on things you should try to focus on in order to get approved. So yeah, so hope that answers that.
If you have any more question, you can write in the chat box. Let's wait for 2-3 minutes. Okay. Yes, it's from Umar. How many people are enough?
We don't have a set number of people because it, like I said, it sort of depends on the situation for each language. So, for example, for the Inner Sami example that I mentioned, there were only like 4 or 5 contributors when it was in the incubator, which is perhaps a little bit low, but still, when you consider that that's 1% of the people who speak the language, that's actually quite high. But for other languages that have more than 400 speakers, like if they have 400,000 speakers or even 4 million speakers or whatever, we are hoping for something around like 8 to 10 users, I think. But yeah, like I said, it depends, which can be a blessing and a curse, I guess. In that it's a hard question to answer, but it also gives us some flexibility when we consider different languages. But yeah, like normally I would suggest around 8 to 10 users, hopefully. Yes, I would also like to ask about which kind of I can't hear you, Afi. I'm sorry.
Afi, you are not audible. You could write your query on the chat box. Okay. Afi has written, how much time does it usually take it for the transition, given if all the parameters are fine, like dedicated volunteers and stuff?
Yeah. Nowadays, it shouldn't really take long. Like when we approve a wiki, it will normally take, maybe 1 to 2 weeks before the wiki is actually created and we've exported all the content from the incubator into the new wiki. That's the situation normally, but I know that right now there is a technical problem, so that I think we have 3 or 4 wikis that are waiting to be created, and one of them has waited for something like 6 weeks, I think. But that's not the normal situation. There's just a roadblock, I guess, currently. But hopefully, when that's solved, the process will be a bit smoother. So, yeah. I say there's another question. If you request a local language Wikipedia, does it automatically mean that also other Wikimedia projects, such as Wiktionary, will be created? No, you have to create a new request for each project, like Wiktionary, Wikiquote, stuff like that. But it does get a bit easier because, well, one of the requirements, for example, is that you have translated a certain amount of the MediaWiki interface into your language. And those translations will still be there, obviously, for when you request a Wiktionary or Wikiquote or whatever. But still, the most important requirement is always the active community and a number of active users. And that might be easy, might be hard, depending on your situation and how interested people are in those other projects, I think. Oh, yes, and another, yeah, I see it. Another good question from Christopher. Would you concentrate on translating or creating new articles for the language? That's actually a really good question because well, we do have some great tools for translating articles in Wikimedia, but unfortunately, the content translation tool is not available on the incubator because of technical issues. Because it's the incubator is one wiki with many languages, while the content translation tool was created for monolingual wikis, like wikis in one language. So unfortunately, that tool is not available on the incubator, but you can still translate things manually, but I'm not sure if I would recommend that because, well, if you translate from one of the big languages, like English or French or Spanish or whatever, or Arabic for that matter, they will usually have really, really long and detailed articles. But when you're writing the first article on something in your language, I think it might be a little bit of a wasted effort if you're translating everything in a huge article. So I would recommend to start writing articles from scratch at first, and to keep them short. Like, just make a definition, write maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs, and then move on to the next article. So don't make it too detailed, because many details means that there's more to maintain and change if something changes. So in the start, just write short and concise articles. Just define the concept and move on to the next concept. And also, if you do decide to translate an article, I would recommend that you only translate like the lead section, so the first few paragraphs. So I wouldn't try to include all of the sections of an article, for instance. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. I don't remember what else I was going to say. Sorry.
Christopher writes, could you give an example, please?
Yes. Yeah, I can show you. Let me share my screen again. So for instance, one of the, well, you would probably write an article on Barack Obama at some point. And if you look at the article on Barack Obama in the English Wikipedia, you can see that it's, well, it's really, 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 really long, extremely long. And it's not just this article, it's basically every single section of his article has a sub-article, like, main article, Illinois Senate career of Barack Obama. And, if you want to write about Barack Obama in a small language in, from wherever, really, it doesn't make sense to have all of this amount of detail in the article. So I would recommend translating maybe only the lead. So this is the lead section. Like, the lead is what we call the part of the article that comes before the first heading. But in this case, even the lead is pretty long. So maybe just do the first paragraph or the first 2 paragraphs, perhaps. And then move on to writing another article, because I mean it's a wiki, so you can always come back to expand it later or improve on it later. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
There's one question from Umar. Is reference necessary in the incubator?
I would like no, but yes, I guess. In theory, at least, all Wikipedias should use references, and I would really recommend that you use references from the very start, because that makes it easier to well, it sets a precedent for the people who start contributing later. If they see that everything in your Wikipedia has references, that's hopefully encourages them to add references when they start editing as well. But when that's said, it is unfortunately pretty difficult to add references in the incubator because we don't have all the infrastructure that the big Wikipedias have. So we don't have the the tools to like there is a function to add like automatic references, just where you can just paste the URL and the reference is created automatically, and that doesn't really work in the incubator, unfortunately. But still, if you can add them, that's very good, and I would recommend it. But it's not a requirement per se. So yeah.
Okay. We have room for one more question, which will be our final question, and then we can wrap it up. Okay, it's from this one question on the chat box. Are editors allowed to create articles or pages for templates and also categories in the test wiki if they exist in the already approved wikis?
I'm not sure if I understand the question completely because well, the test wiki will be in a different language than the already approved wikis. So yes, obviously you're allowed to and encouraged to create the same type of templates and categories and everything in the incubator as in other languages. But if you mean, are you allowed to edit articles after the wiki has been created? That's not technically possible, because in order to avoid duplicate efforts, a test wiki is automatically locked when the corresponding actual wiki is created. So there might be a period of a day or two between a wiki getting created and us exporting the content from the incubator to the new wiki, where people aren't able to edit. But yeah, I hope that answers the question. I might have misunderstood. I'm sorry if that's the case, but yeah.
We are okay, you answered it from Madhuku Brian, right? So you answered it. Yeah. So thank you so much, Yoon. If I'm pronouncing it correctly, it's Yoon, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so
but
much. It was really.
I respond to anything.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Christopher. Yes. The recording will be shared. Thank you for joining. And thank you all the participants who have joined for today's conversation hour. And I hope to see you all again in the next month. And I hope to see you, Jon, again. Hyun, again for maybe in some other conversations like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah.
This
Okay,
is very nice to.
Thank you, Umar. Christopher raised his hand.
Yeah,
Yes.
so how shall we get the recording started?
Sorry.
Libert is inquiring, how shall we get the recording?
Okay. Afi, you might answer to that.
Hello, Christopher. The recording will be uploaded on our website and YouTube channel. You could follow either of the two, and maybe we could also drop an update on Telegram. We have a group with the name DCW Conversation Hour. Just keep it in sync with your stuff and you'll get access to the recording on time. Thank you.
Then I think we're done for today. Thank you once again for joining. Bye.